whites blacken their faces, poking fun, etc., at blacks. But can it not be said that that the minstrels period began when whites sought to portray the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, as whites?
That would be a true minstrel. That would be a true minstrel, because that clearly is not, I mean, it does not accord with the record.
Oh, but
at all.
let's look at the Menemet again, please.
Okay, he's a very important pharaoh. This is another image, and I want to get to this one of him. This is the same person, Amenemhet.
An Egyptian king.
Egyptian king. Let's go back to the chart.
I'm saying that repeatedly because I know. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go back to the chart. Here he is back here, Middle Kingdom. His Greek name is Memnon. Agamemnon. So when we go to Greek literature down here, and the Greeks began to write about their heroic age and their connection with Africa, we can actually find in Africa these people that the Greeks talked about.
But nobody told me that when I was
this
going to
is
school.
Well, you're looking at great Memnon, and so I'm telling you this so that if you go back to school,
this is Memnon.
You can carry to those who would teach our children the kind of information that they need to have. This would be Agamemnon, great Memnon. When, in fact, there are two statues that are misnamed Memnon in the Valley of the Kings, because when the Greeks first got over there, they thought they finally had found the home of Memnon. They just saw two giant statues, and turned out it wasn't Memnon at all. It was one of Amenhotep the third. But
so his African name was
Amenemhet.
Okay.
God Amen comes forth.
Okay.
Notice he looks almost like he's got dreadlocks on here, the braids. That was very prominent in the ancient Kemetic. Now, let me go back to the chart again, because this is also very important.
Okay.
We now have skipped from this period to this period. In other words, we've left the second golden age, the Middle Kingdom, and we now go to the third golden age. Golden Age 1, Old Kingdom, 2, Middle Kingdom, Golden Age 3. Now let's take a look at some of the things going on in that Golden Age. Okay, we have this university. This is a scale model of the University of Ipet Isut, which is the oldest university system in human history. This system, at one point in the 18th dynastic period, which would be around 1500 to 1300 BC, enrolled almost 80,000 students. They had a full faculty with the subjects of grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, astronomy, geometry, and music, what we call the 7 liberal arts. This was the educational system that was in place at the time that Greek people came to Kemet.
Now go back and show who the people were that established this.
Okay, the people, the ones
images you showed earlier.
Okay, the images that we're showing are these people. See, now I just skipped back to the 12th dynasty, but in this dynasty, these people were teaching trigonometry. In other words, we have papyri with math problems on them, the Ryan papyrus, the Moscow papyrus, with problems on them. These papyri were written in the 12th dynasty, and they had problems not only in geometry, but also in trigonometry. That just gives you an example of how much how highly developed mathematics was.
So if that was the king, you can imagine how the population looked.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have pictures of the population too. Now, this is the University of Ipet Isut in the city of Waset. Waset meaning the scepter. Ipet Isut meant this was the most select place. And this is now called the Temple of Karnak. So if you go to Kemet today, to Egypt today, you will see the remains of this temple, the giant pillars, which provided the model for the Acropolis, the Parthenon on the Acropolis, all these Greek structures, and what we call Greek architecture in Washington, D.C., are really copies of this architecture that was produced in the 18th Kemetic dynasty. This is the man who designed that structure. In other words, this is the man who was the architect for Karnak, and he was also like the president of the university. His name is Amenhotep, son of Hapu. This now we skip again.
Going back to the chart?
We're going back to the chart because what I want to show is that this dynasty that has Ipet Isut in it was actually started here by this man that we will now see we will see the first mummy that I've shown you. In fact, the only mummy I'm going to be able to show you today. But his name is Seqenenre. He starts here. He moves these Hyksos out and begins this golden temple age that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay? Now, this is Seqenenre. Now, I'm showing this because all the mummies of the royal mummies of these golden ages are black people. Big argument about whether they were really black or whether they were only black because of the embalming process, which prompted Professor Diop from Senegal to conduct a melanin dosage test. In other words, there's a way to tell on mummy skin as to whether this really is a black person or not. And his test is very simple, which is that you take the chemical ethyl benzoate and you treat the skin, put it under a slide, put it on a slide, a microscope, and a 100-watt bulb, and the melanin molecules, granules, will fluoresce so that they can be counted. And tightly packed melanin granules will be indicative of black skin, and if it's white skin, it'll be less melanin. And the melanin does not deteriorate over time. So if it was a black person when they lived, that melanin is still in the remains of the mummy. And so he actually did that kind of study on mummies in Paris at the Museum of Man, and found that these were indeed black people, but was never given permission to examine the rest of the mummies in the Cairo Museum.
Okay, would you talk about Set for a minute? I want to make a point. Set.
Set was the brother of Asar or Osiris. And Set, that's the first Cain and Abel story. Set killed Osiris, cut him up into 14 pieces. Some people say 28 pieces. Got rid of his body, and then that body was sought by Isis, who collected the pieces back together again. And well, first he was just simply killed, and then she brought the body back, and when she did, Set decided he would cut up the pieces because he feared the resurrection of his brother. He scattered those pieces around. Isis went out and gathered these pieces together again. And Osiris was resurrected, and his son avenged his father. Horus actually fought with his uncle and became Lord of the world. That's the
So Set
story.
was the evil one.
Set was the evil brother.
Okay, I asked that, to actually talk about that because, you know, the Journal of African Civilization had an issue with Dr. Diop,
Yeah.
where he talked about mentioned the fact that the ancient Egyptians would kill on sight anybody that had red hair. And I was reading the New Larousse Dictionary of Mythology, and there was a segment there on Set, and he said that, it says that Set, the evil one,
Right.
who later became, I guess, Satan, was wild with white skin and red hair. So does it make sense that a people would, if they're black, you know, would they make their, if they're white, would they make the devil white too?
Like themselves.
Like
Most
themselves, right.
Right. If people are going to draw negative images, they always project those images onto someone unlike themselves. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can do it. Do we have time for a few
Oh,
more
go
slides?
ahead. Yeah, we got.
Okay. This is Nefertari, who is the wife of the first king of the 18th dynasty, that great golden age. It's really important to have her because most of the people in the United States know about Nefertiti, but nobody knows Nefertari. And yet Nefertari was, in fact, a more prominent queen, was actually the mother of Kemet, was actually an ancient Egyptian rather than a Persian, which, according to some of the historians at least, Nefertiti was not really an Egyptian at all.
Okay.
Okay, this is the temple of Hatshepsut that is in the Valley of the Kings, the first well-known woman to rule Kemet. They had several women who were the actual pharaohs of Egypt. And this is the temple of